Our next speaker is Lang Banks. Lang is the director of WWF Scotland. Lang, very pleased to have you with us if you wish to address the event. Thank you.
Thank you, and hello to all those who are joining us from all over the world. I can see from the chat, and thanks, Ros, for setting up nicely my thoughts on the just transition imperative to act. And on that Chico Mendes quote, I've actually just at a side, on the side, I've got quotes on walls, and that's one of them actually. So it's a good one to pick. Thanks for the introduction. So yeah, I'm the director of WWF Scotland Environmental Organisation, and actually, to Rosie's point, not prompted it, but just one thing I was going to say anyway is I'm also a very proud trade union member and have been my entire working life. In fact, I've actually been a trade union member longer than I've been a paid up environmentalist. So maybe read into that what you wish. And I think as a result of that, it's for me, it's always meant that the work that I do, the policies and advocacy that I do on the environment have always had and will always will have people in communities at the centre of that thinking. For me, that's absolutely what is, part of being an environmentalist should be if we're ever going to address the twin climate and nature emergencies. And it was great to hear you, Ros, talk about the need or the action being taken by trade unionists on environmental issues. Likewise, I see, for example, if we're going to secure a just transition and deliver climate justice, I'd dearly love to see more of my colleagues and people working in environmental organisations become members of trade unions. I think there's a lot that we could be benefit from that. Perhaps that's a topic for conversation in the workshops or even another event itself. On the context and the urgency, as set out by Stephen earlier, hopefully this is an audience that doesn't need to hear again why we need the urgency with regards to climate and the nature crisis we're facing. Let's just say the commitments on the table from our world leaders are nowhere near enough in order to protect people and nature from the worst ravages of climate change and environmental destruction. On top of that too, and I think this is an important point for this discussion, is the fact that often it's the poorest in society that are already the most impacted and affected and have the least means to do anything about it. So I think that's something that we do need to address as well, and the just transition can be part of that. That said, I think certainly for a nation like Scotland and others, is I guess the benefits of being first movers on this. We have opportunities from this, not only to gain from it, but also to help lead others and to help others too in an act of solidarity. And these are all the types of things that the Just Transition Commission, which I was part of, was seeking to try and bring together and address. So some reflections on that. And I certainly don't speak on behalf of the Commission anymore, it's no longer, and neither on behalf of my fellow commissioners, some of whom I know are in the audience, but I'm speaking from my own personal reflections on this. And part of that is congratulating the Just Transition Partnership for all the work they've done over the years to galvanise work on this area in Scotland, including the creation of the Commission. Had you not been pushing, I don't think it would have happened. So thank you for getting it on the political agenda and getting the government to actually start to take some action. And I know those here who don't think that all the recommendations were as strong as they could have been in the Commission's recommendations. I'd be amongst them in the sense there are some areas where I would have liked us to have gone further and some things we should have included that we didn't. That said, I would say it's worth remembering that the Commission and welcoming that the Commission actually looked well beyond oil and gas and energy production. It looked very strongly and had a lot of time put aside for that. But this was a Commission that looked well beyond those traditional issues which are often thought of for a transition, looking at land use, rural and island communities, transport, housing, our economy. That was a good thing and much needed. And I would suggest that there are lots of good, strong recommendations in there, especially in housing, some strong ones on transport. And I particularly like to flag, certainly for colleagues who are maybe viewing in the audience who are from further afield, the recommendations in relation to agriculture and land use, because I think they come certainly in Scotland at a critical juncture for the future of rural support. And they're being discussed by politicians right now. And I think given the increasing role we now know from the IPCC of land in producing and capturing our carbon emissions, the fact that the Commission's report had 4 separate sections of recommendations around agriculture and land use is really, really important, and ones that should really be looked at. I think they particularly, the key for me is that they not only recognise the precarious nature of many who farm and work our land right now, but they also suggest some very practical measures that could be done right now, implemented right now, that would help support those individuals, those communities who work and manage our land to both adapt to the challenges and changes that are coming, but also to contribute as well in a positive way to securing emissions reductions. COVID, like everything else in life, also had an impact on the work of the Commission, and it lasted a year longer than it was originally envisaged. And in that time, we were also tasked to produce recommendations with regards to a green recovery, which we did. And I think while there's many actions we're still waiting to see government pick up, I would like to think that we did help influence the Scottish Government's announcement of £40 million to bus operators reduce oil dependency on diesel buses, and hopefully we'll see almost 200 vehicles and buses built in Falkirk by Alexander Dennis. And I'd like to think that the Commission at least helped nudge that and support the work that was being done by trade unions, environmentalists acting in around that time. On the flip side, I think we could have gone further on some issues. I particularly think on issues such as land reform and even public ownership, which often lie at the heart of many injustices in Scotland. I think we probably could have gone further and made stronger recommendations. I also think we could have made clearer recommendations to show solidarity with those outside of Scotland where injustice is already being faced and may actually suffer further through unintended consequences by actions taken here in Scotland to cut our emissions. So there are things that I would have liked to see stronger, and perhaps they'll come up in the workshops later. So to conclude, I think while we wait for the detailed responses from Scottish Government to the recommendations, they've still to come. I hope they'll come soon. I certainly know that the job is not done, even though the Commission is at an end in its current form, that we do need to keep on pushing. That's why events like this and gatherings like this are so important. And that's why I'm really looking forward to the discussions today and the outputs will follow. I certainly want to be and to ensure that the Scottish Government genuinely delivers a just transition for people and for the planet. Thank you.